With the most recent episode of Yellowjackets being released and it concluding in a way that seemed as though the darkness was now going to become present in the modern day storyline, it looks as though now all of the characters are going to be in a dangerous situation. The trailer for the next episode, episode 6, showed us that it certainly looked as though it's going to stick to that theme too, with the episode being titled G, and when translated into English it means who. I think there's going to be a sense of questioning within it too. So with that, I thought I'd take a look at all that was out there along with giving my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. Here is Yellowjackets Season 2 Episode 6 trailer explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The trailer for Episode 6 looked as though it was going to be set immediately after the end of Episode 5, where we saw that Shauna was screaming and about to go into labor. The first scene that we had in the trailer was of Shauna looking as though she was in labor and in the process of giving birth to her child that has had so much importance put upon it by Lottie and everybody else. It looked as though Misty was leading the way in this situation as we heard her say, "Just push," as she was in Shauna's face and everybody else was gathered around. This was then rounded off with a scream that sounded as though Shauna was in an excruciating amount of pain. The next line that we had in the trailer was, "You'll never believe where I am," as it seemed as though it was Misty who was speaking it. This was intercut with shots of her taking part in some of the activities that Lottie runs at the compound. I think in this instance she could either be on the phone to Walter, Shauna, or Tai. My gut tells me that it's not Walter due to the way that they left things when they departed after he accused her of murder, so I don't think he would be the first person that she would call. So I think it could well be Shauna or Tai, especially considering that we saw Shauna and Tai arriving at the compound later on when many of them were there. However, due to Shauna being held up at the police station and there being a scene where Tai was reaching out to Shauna, I feel it's most likely going to be Tai who Misty phones. I believe Misty is most likely going to be informing her of the type of facility that she's in, and that she's there with Lottie, which is what will most likely be the reason as to why they all end up rushing to be there. After this, there was then a moment that I believe is going to be extremely exciting. Misty meeting with Lottie in the compound. Misty said to Lottie, "I thought you'd be more excited to see me." Judging by the trailer, it looks as though it's going to be a relatively frosty first meeting. Lottie's face said it all. I'm guessing we're going to find out why it's going to be so frosty when we see them in the next episode. Could it be because Lottie knew about the breaking of the emergency transmitter? Or maybe she knew about what she did to Crystal? After all, she could tell that Harvey was alive, so maybe she knew that something bad happened to Crystal. The next shot that we had in the trailer was of Tai and Vanessa driving down a road that looked as though it was on the way to the compound due to the trees on either side. It was essentially the same as what we've seen when Walter and Misty were previously driving down it a few episodes ago. Judging by the name on the phone, it looked as though they were trying to phone Shauna, but Jeff ended up answering instead. Jeff lied and said that Shauna was in the bathroom, when in reality, it looked as though she was arrested and taken into questioning by Kevin over what happened to Adam. I don't know what extra evidence they would have found, but maybe instead of being arrested, Kevin may have just asked to speak with her down at the station for further questioning based on what happened last time. After this, it then cut to Lottie standing in the center around the fire with several of the other Yellowjackets around her, as it looked as though they were deep within some of her prayers and rituals that she'd been getting the group to be involved with. Like we had at the start of episode 5, it sounded as though they were chanting, "We hear the wilderness and the wilderness hears us." Again, tying back into what we saw in the previous episode, where Lottie got everybody on board with expressing what they heard and felt when they were hearing the wind. So I feel she is most definitely going to be getting inside more of their minds in the next episode. The final line that we had in the trailer was, "It sent them here." I think this has deliberately been left vague. I think this could be alluding to the fact that we had a shot of all of them standing together for the first time in this season, and it appeared as though they were at the compound. Even though they've all made their own way there and had their chain of direction, I think they could think that the darkness that now seems to be apparent within the present day is what's caused them to all end up there. As if there was some master plan in place that 25 years later they would all be together again as the Antler Queen, the darkness, and the power of the wilderness takes its hold. There was a shot of Misty looking as though she was running away from an activity or a class that she was put in. I think this is her most likely being told or seeing that the other former Yellowjackets were there, especially considering she was wearing the same jacket as when they were together. Within this moment, we also saw Nat hugging Shauna and Tai and Van getting out of the car. There was also a quick succession of shots that appeared too. There was one of Shauna screaming in pain still, Ben looking as though he was covering his ears. This could be due to the noise that Shauna was emitting during childbirth. There was then a shot of Akila looking as though she was shocked by what she was seeing. Then we had a shot that looked extremely similar to the one that we had at the end of episode 3 of the show, where Lottie thought that her hands were covered in blood. So I feel this could be Lottie's hands in the trailer that are covered in blood. Then we had a shot of the blanket that Lottie made for Shauna in episode 4 of the show, covered in blood. But the ever-present symbol was still so clear, showing that it could have some hold over the baby that's born. With the blanket being covered in blood and the symbol being so clear, I do wonder if this means that something bad is going to happen. We have no clue if Shauna's child is alive in the present day, or if something happened to it whilst out in the wilderness. We know that Lottie is completely infatuated with the birth of Shauna's child, and she even said how it was going to change everything. So it's definitely going to be a dangerous time to be Shauna, as all she most probably wants to do is be with her newborn, but I feel Lottie will have other intentions. I feel Lottie is going to want to provide some kind of sacrifice to the wilderness. I don't think it will be what we're thinking, but maybe we will see her have sinister intentions. There are so many different directions that this next episode could go in, but with it seeming as though this could most definitely be the darkest one in the season so far, it's one that I'm extremely looking forward to watching unfold. The darkness and sinister spirits are now amongst them in the present day, and with Tai's alternative personality looking as though it's going to be just as dangerous in the present as what Lottie was in the past, Lottie seems to have fear in her eyes now, so it's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens. Bring on the next episode. So, there you have it, Yellowjackets Season 2 Episode 6 Trailer Explained. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. I've been covering the entirety of Season 2 of Yellowjackets on the channel, so if you want to watch breakdowns from the first episode, they're also over there too. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think is going to happen next? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.